countdown clock stands at 2 weeks exactly as of today. The road to the presidency passes straight through Georgia.
And making a lot of pit stops as well here in the Peach State, because we know Georgia is considered to be a key player in winning the White House.
Aloha. You know, I was a Democrat for over 20 years. Today's Democrat, thank you. Today's Democrat Party is completely unrecognizable, which points to the clear choice that we have in this election today. When you look at the party of Kamala Harris, for example, she is anti-freedom, she is pro-censorship, she is pro-open borders, and she is pro-war. Without even pretending to care about peace, as President Trump talked about, she has shamelessly embraced the endorsement and support of warmongers like Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney and others who care more about power and feeding the military-industrial complex than they care about you, the American people, and peace. President Trump has pledged to end wars, not start them. And this is why, in the eyes of the Kamala Harris-Dick Cheney Democrat Party, they will do everything possible to try to destroy him. You'll see how they have weaponized the federal government. They have weaponized law enforcement, the Department of Justice. They have done everything possible to try to silence him, to try to remove him from the ballot, so we the people don't even have the choice to who we want to vote for. Why have they done this? Because this man has the courage to take them on and root out the deep rot of corruption in the swamp in Washington. Now, voters have made their voices heard loud and clear, not once, not twice, but 3 times in the last 3 presidential elections, nominating this man to be the Republican nominee for president because of his commitment to these fundamental American principles of freedom and peace and prosperity. USA. Now, to those of you here or those watching at home who are independent-minded people like myself, who love our country and are committed to the Constitution and to freedom, the Democrat Party has no home for people like us. But we do have a home in the Republican Party where we are welcomed with open arms by President Trump and so many of you who love our country. And it is because of my love for our country, and specifically because of the leadership that President Trump has brought to transform the Republican Party and bring it back to the party of the people and the party of peace, that I'm proud to stand here with you today, President Trump, and announce that I'm joining the Republican Party. I'm joining the party of the people, the party of equality, the party that was founded to fight against and end slavery in this country. It is the party of common sense and the party that is led by a president who has the courage and strength to fight for peace. So, as we stand here today, we have 14 days until the most historic election of our lives. And my message to my fellow Americans, regardless of your political affiliation, now is the time for us to stand together to save our country. There is nothing less than that that's on the line.
Minutes here with the details. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, good morning, guys. Yeah, former President Donald Trump continuing his election push today. He's making huge gains with traditionally Democrat voting blocs. So the former president is now leading the VP by 11 points with Latino voters, according to a new USA Today and Suffolk University poll. That same poll is showing Harris's support among black voters is reaching historic lows for a Democratic presidential nominee, with just 72% of likely black voters supporting the vice president.
But it's as if her team isn't even done with the cringe. In fact, they produced this video that I hope got somebody fired. Although it's kind of hard to blame it all on them, since the vice president is a lousy actress.
That unlike my opponent, who got handed $400 million on a silver tray and filed for bankruptcy 6 times, most people don't have that access.
Man, the Democratic struggle bus just pulled in, and it's Tim Walz and Kamala Harris at the wheel, guys.
Have you no empathy, man? You know, for the suffering of other people, have you no sense of purpose?
Liza Lucas is joining us live from Gas South Arena this morning, where we know former President Trump will make a stop this Wednesday. Good morning, Liza.
Good morning, Aisha. Good morning, Cheryl. Yes, everything you said is spot on. We expect to have the former president in town again in Georgia for 2 events on Wednesday. One stop will be at 3 p.m. in Pike County, where the former president will be joining a rally with Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. Then he'll make his way over here to Gwinnett for an evening rally. He's set to deliver remarks around 7 p.m. at Gas South Arena. And Gwinnett is really a spot to watch, a county that is considered to have critical influence in the presidential race. The county, which was a Republican stronghold for decades, was won by Democrats in the 2016 and 2020 presidential elections. It will be an important crowd for the former president as he works to secure votes. Prior to his Peach State stop, he also delivered remarks to supporters in North Carolina, another battleground state where we heard him continue to attack his opponent and the Biden administration. Take a listen to a snippet of those comments.
Think of this, 4 more years. Could you stand it? It's 4 more years of incompetence, and stupidity, and failure and disaster, or whether we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. I think we have a real chance.
After a busy weekend in Atlanta for the vice president, Harris will be making another stop as well in Georgia this week. Now, we don't have the time and place yet, but we know that event is going to be happening on Thursday. It's a Get Out the Vote rally, and she will be joined, we're told, by the former president, Barack Obama. We'll keep you posted on all of those details. Live in
Meanwhile, 57% of voters do not believe Harris has done enough to explain her specific policies as she tries to distance herself from President Biden. Listen.
First of all, I will say that it is a metaphor that is meant to also describe my intention to embark on a new generation of leadership. And needless to say, mine will not be a continuation of the Biden administration. I bring to it my own ideas, my own experiences.
VP Harris will be in Washington, D.C. today and does not have any campaign events on her schedule. Meanwhile, Trump will be holding a roundtable with Latino leaders in Miami, Florida, before traveling to Greensboro, North Carolina for a rally. Trump spent yesterday in North Carolina as well, touring the devastation from Hurricane Helene before speaking to faith leaders.
We have to stop it once and for all. We want a landslide that is too big to rig. Too big to rig. Early voting is underway, so you know what you have to do. So Christians, get everyone you know and vote. You have to vote, or we're not going to have the life that we should have, a life of prosperity and hope, a life of beauty. We're not going to have it. We're going to be fighting for our lives.
Trump's rally today will be his 4th campaign event in the state in 48 hours. And guys, for people saying he's exhausted, it really does not seem like that. He's go, go, go until Election Day.
We're going to go to Colleen at the AP.
Hi, Madam Vice President. Do you think that Republican voters, and specific women voters, will be more likely to vote for you because of the fall of Roe?
If you look at the difference in the way that Donald Trump is handling this issue, Donald Trump at one point called for criminal penalties for women. Now, he's been now trying to sort of be all over the place on this issue, although he expresses great pride for what's happened. And I think the bottom line on this, as on so many other issues, is you just can't count on him. You cannot trust him. We've seen the man that he is. We've seen the cruelty, and America deserves much better.
Well, first of all, thank you for the question, and I hope your family is okay and your home is okay. I love you back.
Hello to all my Divine Nine brothers and sisters, and my sorors. And to all my HBCU brothers and sisters.
As my friend Quavo would say, he does not walk it like he talks it.
We have time for one more. Andrea at Reuters. Right
Now, others argue that Kamala Harris wasn't because it was just too much pressure, which begs the question. If you can't show up for a roast, then how can you represent the country? Because we all know that foreign policy is a very touchy subject. And if she's meeting with somebody like, I don't know, Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, or Kim Jong-un, a cringe video won't do anything for her. And here's the worst news for Kamala Harris. Even CNN is now admitting that Donald Trump did amazing on this night.
I'm here as a journalist, but I'm really here as a concerned citizen, and I'm really happy to be here. And so I know all of you are looking forward to hearing from both of these extraordinary women. They're both incredible. And so I want to begin by getting going. We have some questions from the audience that we will get to. I have a few questions. As I said, I went around to meet several of you, and I heard some questions that some of you had. But universally, many of you said, the reason I'm here is to see bipartisanship. I want to see what it looks like so I can go home with information. So you're going to get that, okay? So let's get going. So sit back, be comfortable. You're not, unfortunately. We have some predetermined questions, and hopefully I'll be able to ask some of the questions that might be in your head. I hope so. But so let's first, I'm going to introduce the Congresswoman from Wyoming, Liz Cheney.
And guys, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing. Hey guys, join us over in our private community. Join the conversation that's taking place on our Patreon platform. Link in the description down below.
I'm pro-life. And I have been very troubled, deeply troubled by what I have watched happen in so many states since Dobbs. And I have been troubled by the extent to which you have women who, as the Vice President said, in some cases have died, who can't get medical treatment that they need because providers are worried about criminal liability. Even if you are pro-life, as I am, I do not believe, for example, that the state of Texas ought to have the right, as they're currently suing to do, to get access to women's medical records. I mean, there are some very fundamental and fundamentally dangerous things that have happened. And so I think that it's crucially important for us to find ways to have the federal government play a role and protect women from some of the worst harms that we're seeing. But again, I just think that, I think that if you look at where the Republican Party is today, there's been a really dangerous embrace of isolationism. A dangerous embrace of time.
Bringing the allies together is because they are fully aware of, and remember, to the Congresswoman's point, World War II, remember, this concept of isolation, we were once there as a nation, and then Pearl Harbor happened. Let's remember, recent history, Europe remembers it well. When we got attacked, Pearl Harbor, we jumped in. And it is because America jumped in that we were ultimately able to win that war. And it should be a constant reminder to us. We have to remember history. that isolationism, which is exactly what Donald Trump is pushing, pull out of NATO, abandon our friends, isolationism is not insulation. It is not insulation. It will not insulate us from harm in terms of our national security. So I say that to emphasize a point that the Congresswoman made, and the other point I'd make is also check out where he's been on how he thinks about America's military and service members. One of the great American heroes, a prisoner of war, John McCain, remember?
We debate it out, have good, vigorous debates, have a good fight over policy. That's good for democracy.
The Trump campaign has been operating like a well-oiled machine. In fact, top operatives from Donald Trump's presidential campaign, they're very confident in their ability to close strong in swing states. That's right, guys. In fact, a memorandum senior advisor, Chris LaCivita and Susie Wiles, and let's not forget about pollster Tony Fabrizio, they sent reporters saying that the Democratic nominee's campaign is cracking, with fissures revealed at the worst possible time for her and the best possible time for Republicans. Real Clear Politics model projects the former president ending up with a whopping 296 electoral votes, which is more than enough to win, even if a state or two ends up in Harris's hands in November. In fact, Team Trump contends the supposed Harris momentum never really existed beyond the confines of July. And per its internal battleground state data, Harris actually slipped marginally post-Labor Day until now in her image and ballot position. She is 5 points underwater in terms of favorability, while she was -3 last month. And in a head-to-head test with Donald Trump, the vice president is now 2 points down, falling from dead even with Donald Trump last month. These are not good numbers if you're a fan of Kamala Harris. Yep. As the Trump team put it, Harris just cannot convince the voters that she's the change agent in the race, that she will be better for the economy, inflation, immigration, crime, or improving people's financial situation. Now, I just read it in our comments as well, guys. A lot of people are in survival mode and they can't take another 4 years of this, right, guys? I mean, even President Joe Biden can't seem to fully get behind the Harris campaign. Apparently, Kamala Harris staffers are starting to blame the Biden administration for not doing enough to help her presidential campaign. They said that the White House is lacking someone in the room thinking first and foremost about how things would affect the campaign. Oh, so now it's Joe Biden's fault that Kamala Harris is sucking it. So this month, Joe Biden shocked reporters by giving his first ever press conference in the White House briefing room as president, which some in Harris's world felt sucked the media oxygen away from her Flint, Michigan rally. Just last week, guys, Kamala Harris feuded with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis after reports revealed that his team turned down an overture to hold a call with her in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene late last month. But then Joe Biden turned around and praised Ron DeSantis' job getting the Sunshine State ready for Hurricane Milton. He also held a call with Ron DeSantis. So yeah, even their own president seems to be working against Kamala Harris. Meanwhile, Republicans are showing up for a united front. As House Speaker Mike Johnson commented recently in a TV interview, the U.S. is in the most dangerous situation since World War II. That the number one concern on everyone's mind right now is the cost of living. They're worried about the weakness on the world stage that Joe Biden and Harris have projected, which has gotten us into the most dangerous situation since World War II. As Johnson put it, you have to have strength. You have to have a steady hand. You have to have a commander-in-chief that our allies respect and our enemies fear. For him, they do not fear Kamala Harris. They do fear Donald Trump. That's what people are going to vote on. And guess what, guys? 3 new polls bear that out as well. Kamala Harris has lost 6 percentage points on Donald Trump in a single month in the NBC News poll, giving the former president the slimmest lead of 47% to 46% among registered voters, with third-party contenders included. A massive flip since last month. Harris scored 47% to Donald Trump's 41% in the same poll. A separate survey from ABC News Ipsos also showed voters moving in Trump's direction nationally, with Harris still up among likely voters 50% to 48%. But that's a pretty significant tightening from the 6-point edge Harris had scored in the last month among likely voters, 52% to 46%. Lastly, a CBS News YouGov poll found Harris ahead of Donald Trump nationally by 51 to 48% and up in the battleground state average of 50 to 49% among likely voters. Now, that poll had Donald Trump gaining just 1 percentage point in the national matchup from where he was in the September poll, which had Harris up 52% to 48%. With the fresh batch of polling, Kamala Harris's lead in the Real Clear Politics aggregate of recent multi-candidate national polling has also slipped and now sits at 1.4 percentage points, down from 2.2 points. Donald Trump is also up in the RCP no toss-up map of swing state contests. Now, I don't have to tell you guys, taken together, this is bad news for Kamala Harris. Most experts think that she needs anywhere from 5 to 6 point national polling advantage in order to win, especially since Donald Trump supporters tend to not respond to polls that Republicans have an inherent advantage in the Electoral College. And then, even before these surveys, frustrated Democrats are sharing internal polls that showed Harris losing in swing states like Wisconsin and Michigan, states that will help determine the outcome of the November election. Longtime political journalist Mark Halperin, he put it this way: there are a lot of really worried Democrats, and there are really no worried Republicans, including at Mar-a-Lago. But what about you guys? Do you feel like Kamala Harris is down for the count? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments down below. We'll definitely follow up on this in the days running up to the election. Make sure you guys are subscribed and have your notification bell turned on, all right? And while you guys are waiting for the next one, why not check out our other videos on the channel? I highly recommend you check out the one where we show MSNBC's clip of the never Trumper Gordon Sondland flipping back to the Trump campaign. And this happened on live TV, guys. Seriously, you gotta check that one out right after this one. As always, thanks so much for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you next time.